Hey guys, this is Intricate from AmigaLove.com, and I want to talk you through an amazing hardware product that I've been lucky enough to acquire for my Amiga 1000, and it's called the Rejuvenator. The Rejuvenator it's probably considered one of the holy grail hardware upgrades for the Amiga 1000 platform. I think that's a fair statement. I mean, when I opened the box, when I got this thing in the mail, it was like a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, if you know what I mean, and my face melted. I couldn't believe I finally got one of these things in my hands. They're extremely rare. I don't know exactly how many of these were made, but my guess is it's as rare as the Phoenix motherboard replacement, which we all know is less than 200 of those ever sold. So this is probably somewhere in the same ballpark, if not dramatically less. So I feel extremely lucky to have one of these. So what is the Rejuvenator? Okay, well, the Rejuvenator is a daughter board replacement for your Amiga 1000. It is a non-destructive upgrade that, and I'll explain all the ins and outs of why this is so cool, but basically the top level items are, it gives you right out of the box 1 megabyte of chip. Right, so it also gives you a Kickstart ROM, no more floppy loading of Kickstart, and it also had a real-time clock, which mine's been removed, thankfully. It had up to 8 bays for chip RAM. If you had 4 bays populated, you had 1 meg. If you had 2, you have 2 megs. This can actually go to 2 mega chip, although I'm probably only going to go to 1, but we'll see how that goes. But regardless, it gave you all of this functionality. It gave you all of these features that a beefed up Amiga 500 or 2000 was offering at the same time back in 1990, which is when Greg Tibbs, the designer, released this to the world. If you recall, back in 1985, 1986, when the gorgeous Amiga 1000 hit the market, it only had 256K of chip RAM built in, which was nothing. I mean, it was barely enough to do anything. They did offer the expansion module. So when you went to the Amiga dealer, you were heavily encouraged to pay a little extra for an additional 256 kilobytes that you slap into the front of your machine to give you half a meg of chip, which basically brought you to the same parity level as an Amiga 500 a few years later, a stock one anyway. And of course, you can upgrade Amiga 500s and 2000s to have a full meg of chip or 2 megs of chip even. The Amiga 1000 had just kind of been left behind. It had been basically discontinued by Commodore by 1990, and a lot of folks didn't want to let it go, and they wanted to be able to expand that machine the same way that the 500 and the 2000 was allowed to be pushed to the next level. There were hardcore Amiga fans that didn't want to let the 1000 go. I think rightly so, because it is absolutely one of the most beautiful desktop computer designs ever made. I don't think there's any argument around that. I realize I'm biased, but it is absolutely just drop dead gorgeous. And if there is a way to do this without cutting traces or soldering, which is exactly what this provides, well, hell, why not? It would allow you to run the same games, same demos, same high-end productivity software that folks from back in the day were wanting to use on their video projects, on their game projects, their design projects, whatever, that their contemporaries using, for instance, a 2000 could do. So basically what happens is, you pop out your daughter board. You just pull that straight out. It's really easy. Once you pull the daughter board out, you then migrate 2 of your chips from the motherboard. You have to pull the motherboard out of your 1000 entirely. There's no way to do this project with it in the case, but what are we talking about here? 12 screws? Maybe? Total? Something like that. It's not very many. Let's say it's a dozen screws, then you pull the thing out, it just pops right out. The case is so well, beautifully designed. You set that on a nice little mat, and you remove your Paula and your Denise, right? And then the Agnes, the 1000's Agnes is so funny. She's like the only one. She's like the girl from Cool World. She's all skinny. Because on the bottom of this, it's got these abilities to plug right into where those 3 chips used to be on the motherboard. And you're just kind of raising them up a level to this guy now. And then you get to put the fat Agnes in there. Oh, bless her heart. Or the super fat Agnes, or as some might call the obese. Which I always thought was a little mean. I hope Agnes had left the office by then at the Amiga team. In any case, you've got your chip RAM. Now you've got your fat Agnes in there. You've moved these chips up. And then you've got a couple of these wire leads that you have to clip down below. That's it. You don't have to cut anything. There's no soldering, like I said before. There's only one little tricky part. The little golden pins that push into your daughter board all have to get put into the back of this. You're going to set this down exactly where the daughter board was that you removed. The advantage of the daughter board is that it has these orange plastic sockets, let's call them, that just easily pop right onto those pins. It's so easy to just push this down and pop this out. It's a no-brainer if you need to pull the daughter board in or out of your machine. It's really easy. With this one, there are no plastic guides at all. You have to literally and magically put this exactly on where all the golden pins were, assuming none of them moved 1/100th of a millimeter, and set this right down on top of it. Now, I've tried for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and I've gotten this so close, like maybe 85% of them all the way down, but there's always like one row somewhere that and you can't see what you're doing because it's got to be all the way down to the motherboard. There's a very small gap and you can't see underneath it. So even with the motherboard removed, you have to do this basically blindfolded. And so that's the only piece of this thing that's like, God dang it, I wish that had been done differently. And I have ideas for a future revision, which I'll talk about in a little bit, that would make that process so much easier and less aggravating. In any case, that leads me to the next point of this whole video, which is it is my personal intention to try and bring the Rejuvenator back to the Amiga community. For those folks out there, and it's a small group, but it's a passionate group of Amiga 1000 fans that would like to have what all the other Amigas have, which is the ability to have 1 or 2 megabytes of chip and to have Kickstart ROM as part of the machine rather than a floppy. However, there is actually the ability to add a switch to this. So if you want to go back to floppy, you can, which is really pretty cool. I might do that in the future at some point if I can get the damn thing to work. But like I said, I haven't been able to get mine to snap on yet. But I'm getting distracted. I want to actually bring this back to the community. I want to recreate this board in the same vein as Acel, who is trying to bring back the Amiga 4000 motherboard, and through a process of reverse engineering. I would like to reverse engineer this and eventually release all of the schematics and data files to the community so that we get an original set created of boards, and then let the community start to contribute through open source software, or at least through open source rights, contribute ways to refine this and improve this and potentially even add additional features. Like, my goodness, I wish it had, the only thing it lacks to, in my personal opinion, to like totally toast the Phoenix would be a built-in SCSI controller. That would be so slick. To have the speed and stability of SCSI combined with this would be fantastic, because I personally believe that could be built into this board. And this is a non-destructive add. There's no snipping, there's no soldering. So why not? We got the space. We could totally do it. But that's for the future. Now, I want to let everyone know that I tried for a long time, and I'm still trying. I tried to contact Greg Tibbs, the creator of this product. I wanted to let him know, A, how much I love it and how much I appreciate his work from 1989/1991 during the time when he was doing this and was really active in the Amiga community. And I want to let him know my intentions of how I'd like to bring this amazing product back to the market with no intention of any profit. It would be completely a break-even deal for me personally and financially. I don't want to try and make some sort of Amiga product that I'm gonna gain financially off of. That's not what this is about for me. This is a hobby. This is for fun. It's not a business. And I just want to have more fun with other people that want to have fun. And so the idea would be, and so I did try and contact him. He has not left, to my knowledge, a digital trace of himself anywhere online. I do believe he is still alive. I do believe he still lives in the Dayton, Ohio area where he was based when this product first came out. And I've uncovered some really interesting history behind that, which I'm going to include in an article, which I'll link down below this video. But the high level is that he was a huge member of Dayton, Ohio Amiga user group back in the day. He was friends with some heavy hitters, including Eric Schwartz, the guy who created the kind of risque, furry squirrel Amiga mascots and whatnot, and the kind of adult cartoon strips and whatnot, which I believe he drew and animated on Amigas back in the day. So those guys knew one another. Eric's brother also knew Greg, and I think that's how Greg met the guys who funded his original product. The folks, it was two gentlemen from Kentucky, which is right across the river from Dayton, Ohio, if you're not familiar with the geography, called Expert Services. And that's the brand that you see on the board. It says the Rejuvenator by Expert Services. Well, Expert Services was this little, I think, retail shop across the bridge. Those guys helped fund Greg's dream of bringing his Amiga 1000 up to contemporary levels at the time. And they probably wanted to, and they probably did, resell them out of their own shop via, magazine ads and stuff like that, user groups, things like that. And so that place actually, from what I've been able to ascertain, went out of business a while back. They kept on renewing their business license, but as of 2011, I believe, is when it finally kind of bit the big one and they just stopped doing that. In any case, Greg had his own LLC, which he called the Dayton Logic Services. Is that right? No, Dayton Logic Designs. Greg had his own LLC, which was a sole proprietorship. So it's not put into the state records the same way a regular business would be. It's not as easy to track down. It's done at the county level rather than the state level. And I've been dealing with Kentucky State and Ohio State, trying to see if I could get some sort of contact information around Greg, and I just keep on hitting dead ends. But it's not for lack of trying. If anybody out there watching this video happens to know Greg, please message me with his email address if you're cool with that. I'm not going to stalk this guy. I just want to get in touch with him and let him know how appreciative I am of the product and of my intention to take it forward and to try and bring it back to life. And I would love to see if he'd like to be an advisor, or have any other ideas that he'd like to bring, or if he, more importantly, if he has his original schematics, it would save a lot of money and a lot of effort. We wouldn't have to reverse engineer it. We could actually take his original, even if they're still on Amiga discs, that'd be great. We can get the same software. It's still available. The Boardmaster software is still available for download. We could totally get those schematics and transfer them to something more contemporary to have the boards actually made, and would save us a ton of time and effort that's another reason why I'd like to get in touch with Greg, is to see do you still have those things? Do you still have those schematics? Do you still have those files? It's a long shot, but it's worth asking. It doesn't hurt to ask. I just haven't been able to get a hold of him. So that's kind of where these things are at right now. I'm hoping I'm going to get to make a part 2 video soon, a success video where I've finally figured out how to get the darn thing on top of my Amiga 1000 motherboard. That will be a absolutely awesome day. I hope I'm wearing the same shirt, because I'm going to go try it after this video is over. I'll just cut it right into this video. There'll be no part 2. Come on, I'm sick of this. So that's kind of where things stand. And then I can show you, if I do get it working, I hope to show you what it looks like in sysinfo, and we can kind of walk through that together. And I can get some of you guys a little more excited about trying to bring this product back to market, hopefully. And maybe getting one of them in your hands someday. It might be 2020, but who's counting? It's just age and years. So anyhow, that's kind of where things stand right now, and that's pretty much it for this. So until next time, I'm Intricate from Amiga Love. We'll see you. Bye-bye.